This week on Vaticano, we'll follow Pope Francis through the Christmas celebrations. We'll take a look at the nativity scene most visited by the popes. Stay with us to witness the works of mercy of the people of northern Italy who found the way to welcome and integrate migrants. For this and more, Vaticano starts now. The Christmas holidays, feasts and ceremonies have all finished and gone together with the year 2016. With the celebration of the extraordinary Jubilee Year of Mercy, 2016 offered a rich spiritual program and a lot of activities, and met with incredible success on the part of the Church and the faithful. What should we expect then from the year 2017? Some people welcomed the new year at home with their families and friends, or praying in the churches. But others were under bomb shelters, in migrant camps, or in a hospital bed. People don't know what will happen in 2017, but everyone is hoping for peace and serenity. Which explains the tradition of the Church to call the newborn Jesus the Prince of Peace. On Christmas Day, December the 25th, during the traditional blessing Urbi et Orbi, which means to the city of Rome and to the whole world, Pope Francis prayed for the child Jesus to bring real and lasting peace to everyone suffering from violence and conflict around the world.
Di questo bambino, figlio di Dio e di Maria, non è il potere di questo mondo, basato sulla forza.
The power of this child, Son of God and Son of Mary, is not the power of this world, based on might and wealth. It is the power of love. It is the power which created the heavens and the earth, which gives life to all creation, to minerals, plants, and animals. It is the force which attracts man and woman, and makes them one flesh, one single existence. It is the power which gives new birth, pardons faults, reconciles enemies, and transforms evil into good. It is the power of God.
Che perdona le colpe, riconcilia I nemici, trasforma il male in bene. È il potere di Dio.
Speaking to around 40,000 pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square for the occasion, the Holy Father prayed for those areas of the world which are affected by violence. He included naming them Syria, Colombia, and eastern Ukraine.
Pace sulla terra a tutti gli uomini di buona volontà.
Peace on earth to men and women of good will, who work quietly and patiently each day, in their families and in society, to build a more humane and just world, sustained by the conviction that only with peace is there the possibility of a more prosperous future for all.
C'è la possibilità di un futuro più prospero per tutti.
In his celebratory sermon, Pope Francis called Christmas a feast of hope and a time of challenge. He said that Christ came to this world as the King of glory, and at the same time it carries the taste of sadness, because love is not accepted and life is discarded. This happened to Joseph and Mary, who found the doors closed and put Jesus in the manger.
Ma il Natale ha soprattutto un sapore di speranza.
Yet Christmas has essentially a flavor of hope, because notwithstanding the darker aspects of our lives, God's light shines out. His gentle light does not make us fear. God, who is in love with us, draws us to himself with his tenderness, born poor and fragile among us, as one of us.
The child Jesus challenges us by inviting us to leave behind fleeting illusions and go to the essence, to renounce our insatiable claims, to abandon our endless dissatisfaction and sadness for something we will never have, and rediscover peace, joy, and the meaning of life.
Avviciniamoci a Dio che si fa vicino.
Let us draw close to God, who draws close to us. Let us pause to look upon the crib and imagine the birth of Jesus, light, peace, utmost poverty, and rejection. Let us enter into the real nativity with the shepherds, taking to Jesus all that we are, our alienation, our unhealed wounds. Then in Jesus we will enjoy the flavor of the true spirit of Christmas, the beauty of being loved by God.
Assaporeremo lo spirito vero del Natale, la bellezza di essere amati da Dio.
During the Feast of Epiphany on January the 6th, Pope Francis repeated the words of John Chrysostom and said that the Magi did not set out because they had seen the star, but they saw the star because they had already set out. And we, the faithful, should follow their example and long and look for God. A holy longing for God wells up in the heart of believers because they know that the gospel is not an event of the past, but of the present.
La nostalgia di Dio ci tira fuori dai nostri recinti.
Longing for God draws us out of our ironclad isolation, which makes us think that nothing can change. Longing for God shatters our dreary routines and impels us to make the changes we want and need. Longing for God has its roots in the past. It does not remain there. It reaches out to the future. Believers who feel this longing are led by faith to seek God, as the Magi did, in the most distant corners of history, for they know that there the Lord awaits them.
Il credente nostalgioso, spinto dalla sua fede, va in cerca di Dio come i magi, nei luoghi più reconditi della storia, perché sa in cuor suo che là lo aspetta il Signore.
The Pope said that the Magi wanted to worship a newborn king, and they thought they would find him in a palace surrounded with glory. But they found Jesus in a cave surrounded with poverty.
God wanted to be born where we least expected, or perhaps desired, in a place where we so often refuse Him, to realize that in God's eyes there is always room for those who are wounded, weary, mistreated, and abandoned, that His strength and His power are called mercy.
35,000 pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square for the first Angelus prayer on January the 6th. In his address, Pope Francis said that the Christian life is a continuous journey made of hope.
It is not enough to know that God was born, if we are not reborn with Him in our hearts. God was born, yes, but was He born in your heart? Was He born in my heart? Was He born in our hearts? And if so, we will find Him as the Magi, together with Mary and Joseph in the stable.
Come i magi, con Maria, Giuseppe, nella stalla.
After the Angelus prayer, Pope Francis greeted the Eastern Christians who follow the Julian calendar and celebrate Christmas on January the 7th. He said that in a spirit of joyful fraternity, he wishes them hope and peace. On Sunday, January the 8th, the feast of the baptism of the Lord, Pope Francis baptized 28 babies during Mass in the Sistine Chapel. It's a tradition that started with Pope St. John Paul II.
Voi avete chiesto.
You have asked faith for your babies, and faith will be given to them through baptism. Faith, which means a life of faith, because faith must be lived. Walk the path of faith and witness it.
La fede, ciò significa vita di fede, perché la fede va vissuta. Camminare sulla strada della fede e dare testimonianza della fede. Nel nome del Padre e del
The Holy Father baptized 15 baby boys and 13 baby girls. During the homily, some children started to cry, and at that moment the Pope commented,
Gesù ha fatto lo stesso,
Jesus did the same thing, you know. I like to think that Jesus' first homily in the stable was actually his crying, the very first.
La prima.
After celebrating Mass, Pope Francis prayed the Angelus with the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square. During his address, Pope Francis said that John the Baptist became aware of the big distance between God and man and tried to stop Jesus, saying that he was the one who should be baptized by Jesus.
Ma Gesù è venuto proprio per colmare la distanza.
But Jesus has come to us in order to bridge the gap between man and God. If he is all on the side of God, then he is all on the side of man, and he reunites what was divided. That's why he asks John to baptize him, so that every justice be fulfilled.
Giovanni di battezzarlo, perché si adempia ogni giustizia.
On January the 5th, Pope Francis met with some of the people affected by the earthquake that devastated Norcia and the surrounding towns on August the 24th.
Voi sapete che vi sono vicino.
You know that I am close to you, and I tell you one thing. When I learned what had happened that morning, I just woke up and found a note speaking of the two shocks. I felt two things. I have to go. I have to go. And then I felt pain, a lot of pain. And with this pain, I went to celebrate Mass that day.
Due cose ho sentito. Ci devo andare e poi ho sentito dolore. E con questo dolore sono andato a celebrare la messa quel giorno.
During the audience, the Holy Father listened to the stories of survivors and took notes. He said that the worst thing you can do in this situation is to give a sermon. Therefore, he only emphasized some of the words that had been used by the survivors and reflected on them. He said that he merely wanted to take what your hearts have said and make it my own, and say it again with you.
I cuori sono feriti, ma c'è la parola che abbiamo sentito.
Our hearts are wounded, but we've heard today an important word from Raphael, to rebuild the hearts, which is not tomorrow will be better. It is not optimism, no. There is no room for optimism here. For hope, yes, but not for optimism. Optimism is an attitude that helps only for one moment. It brings us forward, but has no substance. Today, we need hope, to rebuild, and this can be done with the hands, another word that has touched me.
Che serve un po' in un momento, o ti porta avanti, ma non ha sostanza. Oggi serve la speranza per ricostruire, e questo si fa con le mani. Un'altra parola che mi ha toccato, no? Raffaele ha parlato delle mani.
The Holy Father told the people not to lose the ability to dream in the process of rebuilding, inviting them to have the courage to dream one more time as they move forward. In a few moments, we'll be back with more on Vaticano. More on Vaticano begins now. On a cold, dark night, when darkness seemed to have taken over the light, a mysterious star shone mightily bright in the sky, and following the star, 3 wise men arrived at Bethlehem. They didn't come from the same area, but they were all going to the same place. A look was enough to be aware of them. They were going to worship the King of Kings, the Creator of the world, the only God. And there, wrapped in swaddling clothes, they saw him, saw the Christ, saw Jesus. Christian tradition says that they reached Jerusalem, where they had an encounter with Herod. Following the star, they reached the town of Bethlehem, where they worshipped the child Jesus, and, warned by an angel, returned to their lands by another path, without saying anything to the king. The 3 wise men carried gifts with them, unusual and meaningful gifts. Gold to underline Jesus' royal nature, the King of Kings. Frankincense to symbolize the divine nature of the Son of God. And myrrh to show his human nature and reveal his passion and death on the cross. The 3 wise men represent all those who throughout history have looked for the truth. They stand for humanity thirsty for God, that is journey, truth, and life. Christmas time officially came to an end with the feast of the baptism of our Lord. The lights and decorations are disappearing from the streets and houses, and simple, ordinary wintertime has set in. But there is one place in Rome where Christmas lasts every day for 12 months a year. The nativity scene of the Roman street cleaners gives visitors the possibility to experience Christmas even during the summer. Over its 45 years existence, the place has received over 2 million visitors, 3 Roman pontiffs, Italian prime ministers and presidents, and even a saint, Mother Teresa. What is special about this nativity scene? Giuseppe Ianni, the creator of this nativity, says that all cribs are beautiful because they represent the story of Christ. But his own nativity is made with a lot of love and the desire to show the world the love of God.
Sono passati già 45 anni quest'anno, ma questo l'ho fatto nel mio tempo.
It's been 45 years this year, and I created this in my free time, not while on the job. See, I would finish work and stay on and work at it little by little. Some of my colleagues were a bit skeptical. They were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm creating a nativity scene so beautiful the Pope will come and see it." And nobody believed me. And not one, but 3 popes have come to see it. St. John Paul II came 24 times.
Santo Giovanni Paolo II è venuto 24 volte.
Pope Paul VI visited the nativity scene in 1974, and His Holiness Benedict XVI, in his first year of pontificate, paid homage to this place. After visiting the street cleaner's nativity, Pope Benedict said that he felt as if he had been on a pilgrimage to Bethlehem. The nativity reproduces down to the smallest detail the buildings of Palestine from 2,000 years ago. There are 4 aqueducts, 2 wet walls that form stalactites, 1 well with a spring, and 24 caves.
Questo qui ho voluto fare la Bethlehem.
Here I wanted to create Bethlehem and the cave where Jesus was born. The Gospels say that Jesus was born in a manger, a stable, and so there's bits of straw on the floor and hay. People that go in feel like they're participating in the birth of Jesus. They walk over the hay and the bits of straw. They're inside the manger, and you can also see all the symbols from the Old and New Testaments.
Poi ci sta tutte le simbologie del Vecchio e del Nuovo Testamento.
The base of the crib and its outer walls are made with 2,234 stones that come from all over the world. The first is a stone from Bethlehem, and the last a meteorite rock from the moon. The visit is free of charge, and as a donation, the organization accepts stones. The right-hand side of the crib represents the passage from the Old to the New Testament. It starts with the bricks that the people of Israel had to produce when they were enslaved in Egypt. The sacks of grain represent the story of Joseph and his brothers. And then there is also a coil, reminding us of the prophet Isaiah.
Delle case costruite sulla roccia, come dice Gesù nel Vangelo. Il primo discorso.
You see houses built on the rock, just like Jesus says in the Gospels. He said, "If you build a house on the rock, the house will weather any storm and will not be destroyed." Among other things in this great speech Jesus made, he also said that we are the salt of the earth. The salt, because just like the salt gives taste and allows us to preserve food, so we are called to preserve our faith and give taste to the world with our example.
La nostra fede e dare sapore al mondo con il nostro esempio.
The street cleaner's nativity scene is certainly a great example of the salt of the faith of Giuseppe Ianni, which gives a taste of the mystery of the nativity of Jesus to all pilgrims the whole year round. Thanks for watching. Stick around for more on Vaticano. Welcome back. You're watching Vaticano. Since its establishment by Pope Paul VI in 1971, the Pontifical Council Cor Unum has been directing and coordinating the organizations and charitable initiatives of the Catholic Church. The dicastery carries out diverse activities covering 3 main areas: assistance to the Pope in his charitable initiatives, encouragement and coordination of the initiatives of Catholic aid organizations, and the promotion of Christian charity. With the collaboration of the Aurora Vision Society, the Council has created a series of short documentaries about the works of mercy performed by charitable organizations or individuals. Encounter. This movie responds to the immigration problem in northern Italy. The Catholic Church cannot ignore the problem of the forcible displacement of people. According to the UN Refugee Agency, in 2015 alone, about 65 million people were forcibly displaced worldwide by war and conflicts. And the numbers keep growing. The tally is bigger than the population of the United Kingdom or of Canada, Australia and New Zealand combined. How should we react to this problem? The director of the movie Encounter, Leah Beltram, says that following the principles of the gospel is the only way to encounter and welcome those in need.
The path to encounter is that of the coexistence of differences, and by valuing each person's experience while keeping their identity. So I am ready to encounter the other person because I know he's alone, and it's through this encounter that I try to learn more about my own history and my own identity.
Certainly the main obstacle to welcoming is fear. Fear to face something or someone that is different. Fear not to be accepted or to be excluded.
And so that encounter, that knowledge, breaks down all the barriers, and we learn to welcome the gifts, like the Magi. The Magi come to baby Jesus carrying gifts. They're people of different religions, they come from the Orient, and they're carrying gifts. And in the Middle Eastern tradition, their gifts are received with two hands, like this. And so let's try to exchange gifts with each other, and we'll have better and richer days ahead of us.
Anni fa,
50 years ago, a lot of the people here in Trentino were forced to leave their families to emigrate. And today that's changed, and it's us Africans who are coming here to them. For this, they're very welcoming here, because they lived something similar in the past.
In 1600, the Jesuit missionary Vaticano left the Vaticano and went to Arizona, Baja California, and Mexico, where he spread the word of the gospel. Thousands of workers came to the Vaticano to pick apples, and we must put into practice this principle of welcoming, just as Vaticano taught us.
As an immigrant, it is very hard to leave your own country. And a lot of times you know what you're leaving behind, but have no idea where you're going. And many times you leave wars, diseases, and hunger, just to look for something better.
We're in the Vaticano, the land of the apples. It's a consortium that comprises 16 cooperatives scattered all over this territory, and to which are associated 4,200 families of our producing partners. Several thousands of people come here to the Vaticano for the apple picking season. They come from many different countries, many of them non-European.
Fear. You're gripped by fear because you don't know whether people will accept you. You get scared if they look at you in a bad way because you're different. You get scared of your own environment, of everything that happens around you.
These people are protected against any possible situation. I mean, if they hurt themselves, they're sick, etc. And they're added members of our families that stay usually for a month. For them, it's the perfect chance to make a little extra income. And for us, they're very important, as they help out with the picking. But it's not just about getting richer. They do open our minds a bit, you know, seeing people from other cultures and another mentality, other peoples.
Altre culture, altre mentalità, altri popoli.
Thank goodness there are people like those in the church that are there for the first steps of welcoming. and they help you let go and forget about all the hardships. I've had my share, I can say, but I pulled through because I accepted my situation and I drew closer to the people who love me.
L'accoglienza può essere dunque un'occasione
Welcoming, then, can be the perfect chance to understand anew and broaden our horizons.
sia per chi è accolto, il quale
This both on the part of those who are welcomed, who have the duty to respect the values, traditions, and laws of the community hosting them,
della comunità che lo ospita,
and on the part of those who welcome, they're called to value what every single immigrant can offer to the advantage of the whole community.
a vantaggio di tutta la comunità.